Sutra of the Garland of a Bodhisattva's Primary Karmas, Fascicle 2 of 2. Chapter 4, The Meanings of the 42 Names. At that time, the Buddha told foremost reverence Bodhisattva, "You asked earlier about the meanings of the 10 levels of abiding, the 10 levels of action, the 10 levels of transference of merit, the 10 grounds, the stainless ground, and the perfect enlightenment ground, the 42 doors of sages and holies. I now explain their meanings. Buddha-san, the Sutra of the Garland in the ocean of the Vajra store explains the features of these sages and holies. Features are based on the subject, and the bodhisattvas are the subject. Their features are described by their merits. Before entering the first level of abiding. Buddha-san, before entering the first of the 10 levels of abiding on the Bodhisattva Way, one is an ordinary being who does not know any holy being who upholds the 3 jewels. One has neither knowledge nor understanding of good and evil causes or their corresponding effects. However, one is fortunate enough to encounter a Buddha or a Bodhisattva, has even one thought of belief in his teachings, and then activates the Bodhi mind. Such a one, before entering the first level of abiding, is called a faith as appearance Bodhisattva, also called a Bodhisattva in name or in false name. To some degree, he cultivates the 10 faithful minds. 1. Faith. 2. Mindfulness. 3. Energetic progress. 4. Wisdom. 5. Meditative concentration. 6. Observance of precepts. 7. Transference of merit. 8. Protecting the mind. 9. Relinquishment or almsgiving. And 10. Making pure vows. He cultivates another 10 minds based on the 10 good karmas, the 5 precepts, the 8 precepts, the 10 precepts, and the 6 paramitas. As he does the 10 good karmas, if he cultivates the 10 faithful minds for 1, 2, or 3 kalpas, he will be reborn in one of the 6 desire heavens as requital. Though laden with all the afflictions, he can be reborn as an iron wheel king who rules one continent as a high-grade requital, reborn as one of the lesser kings as a middle-grade requital, or reborn as a ruler of men as a low-grade requital. Even if he does innumerable good karmas, he is subject to regress. Nevertheless, if he encounters a beneficent learned friend from whom he learns the Buddha Dharma, after 1 or 2 kalpas he will enter the first level of abiding. If not, his roots of goodness are subject to regress. The meanings of the 10 levels of abiding. Buddha-san, the first level of abiding is called abiding in activation of resolve, because a bodhisattva sage at this level progresses with his growing roots of goodness. If, for 1 or 2 kalpas, under 1, 2, or 3 Buddhas, he cultivates the 10 faithful minds, believes in the 3 jewels, practices 84,000 paramitas, and goes through all Dharma doors, if he holds his faith, neither embracing the 8 inverted views or other wrong views, nor committing any of the 10 grave sins or the 5 rebellious sins, and if he is not reborn in difficult places, but always encounters the Buddha Dharma, develops wisdom from hearing the Dharma, and seeks skillful means, then for the first time he enters and abides in the realm of emptiness. Therefore, this level is called abiding. Understanding that a sentient being is empty, he learns the Dharma of ancient Buddhas. Although merit arises from his mind ground without fabrication, this level is called abiding, not ground. The second level of abiding is called development of the ground, because he cultivates a pure mind of emptiness through 84,000 Dharma doors. The third level of abiding is called abiding in training, because he does all training. The fourth level of abiding is called abiding in high birth, because he is born into the Buddha family and becomes a pure character type. The fifth level of abiding is called abiding in skillful means, because he skillfully develops innumerable roots of goodness. The sixth level of abiding is called abiding in the true mind, because he achieves the sixth paramita. The seventh level of abiding is called abiding in no regress, because he enters the realm of ultimate emptiness, realizing the no birth of dharmas, and trains in the three samadhis, namely emptiness, no appearance, and no wish. The eighth level of abiding is called abiding in truthfulness of youth, because starting with the first level, he neither embraces the inverted views nor harbors evils which can destroy the Bodhi mind. The ninth level of abiding is called abiding in Dharma princeship, because he understands the Buddha Dharma and will become a Buddha when he ascends to the 12th ground. The 10th level of abiding is called abiding in blessings with nectar poured on the head, because, having observed at the preceding 9 levels the emptiness of dharmas, he achieves the unsurpassed understanding that dharmas have no birth. The meanings of the 10 levels of action. Therefore, Buddha son, a bodhisattva sage, having completed the 10th level of abiding, realizes that the dharma nature of the 5 aggregates that constitute a sentient being is emptiness. He also practices 84,000 paramitas. Therefore, he is called a Buddha son of the 10 levels of action. The first level of action is called joyful action, because he realizes that dharmas are empty, a realization indestructible by the wrong doctrines of non-Buddhists. The second level of action is called beneficial action, because he benefits sentient beings by teaching them the ever-abiding Dharma. The third level of action is called anger-free action, because he achieves endurance of dharmas, for he understands that he has no self with its belongings. The fourth level of action is called endless action, because he endlessly transforms sentient beings and accumulates merit. The fifth level of action is called delusion-free action, because he never loses right mindfulness even upon dying, as his consciousness fades away. The sixth level of action is called well-displayed action, because he is reborn in Buddha lands life after life. The seventh level of action is called unfettered action, because he knows that not only self and no self are empty, but also all dharmas are empty. The eighth level of action is called respectful action, because he respects and follows the Buddha Dharma of the past, present, and future. The ninth level of action is called good Dharma action, because he expounds the Dharma, teaching others to do good dharmas by its guidance. The 10th level of action is called true reality action, because he understands that the two truths as opposites do not accord with true suchness, which is beyond appearance and no appearance. The meanings of the 10 levels of transference of merit. Therefore, Buddha son, a bodhisattva sage, having completed the 10th level of action, realizes that a sentient being is empty and that its having no self is equally empty. He observes the one appearance of all dharmas that arise upon convergences of causes and conditions. As he practices 1,000,000,000 koti paramitas one after another, he observes the emptiness of dharmas with his mind in nirvana. As a cause leads to its effect, likewise his illuminating observations at the 10 levels of transference of merit lead to his illuminating observations on the holy grounds. At the 10 levels of transference of merit, eliciting the 4 immeasurable minds, he neither abandons sentient beings nor is attached to them. The first level of transference of merit is called transference of one's merit to one's saving all sentient beings without being attached to their appearances, because he takes the 6 life paths but is not captivated by his experiences, which are constantly changing. The second level of transference of merit is called transference of one's merit to one's indestructible mind, because he observes that all dharmas are but one's perceptions of their uses and their names, moving thought after thought. The third level of transference of merit is called transference of one's merit to one's becoming an equal of all Buddhas, because he observes that the Dharma of all Buddhas prevails simultaneously in the past, present, and future. The fourth level of transference of merit is called transference of one's merit to one's arriving everywhere, because through the power of his great vows he enters all Buddha lands to make offerings to all Buddhas. The fifth level of transference of merit is called transference of one's merit to one's endless store of merits, because he gives others the ever-abiding three jewels. The sixth level of transference of merit is called transference of one's merit to one's confirming the equality of all roots of goodness, because he does good deeds, whether or not free from his afflictions. The seventh level of transference of merit is called transference of one's merit to one's regarding all sentient beings equally, because he sees the equality of good and evil, and of father and mother, each being a convergence of causes and conditions. The eighth level of transference of merit is called transference of one's merit to one's realizing true suchness, because he sees that the existence or non-existence of all dharmas is but a convergence or divergence of causes and conditions. The ninth transference of merit is called transference of one's merit to one's liberation from bondage, because he sees that, based on the equality of the two truths, all dharmas, as convergences of causes and conditions in the past, present, and future, are equal in their no birth. The 10th transference of merit is called transference of one's merit to one's entering the Dharma realm, because he realizes that all dharmas have the one appearance of no appearance in the highest truth in the middle way. Buddha-san, the meaning of a bodhisattva sage's mind at these 30 levels is immeasurable and boundless, inconceivable to ordinary beings. It is the road taken by all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas in worlds in the 10 directions. The meanings of the 12 grounds. Buddha-san, you asked earlier about the meaning of ground. Like the ground, the mind can hold 1,000,000 asankaya merits. Like the ground, the mind can produce all causes and effects. Buddha-san, a bodhisattva sage, having completed the 10th level of transference of merit, sheds the ways of an ordinary being and is born into the Buddha family, joining the holy multitude as a holy bodhisattva indestructible by the 4 maras. As he sees the equality of diametric dharmas, his great faith gains full strength for the first time. He then observes the no birth of dharmas in the highest truth in the middle way, as he progresses from the first ground to the second ground to the third ground and even to the 11th ground. The first ground is called the joyful ground, because with his mind in nirvana he observes dharma doors in the dharma stream. He joyfully sees all dharmas in the one appearance of no appearance, and sees his 2 kinds of dharma bodies as boundless, no different from Buddha lands. The second ground is called the taint-free ground, because he observes the emptiness of sentient beings without being attached to their appearances, manifests 1,000 Buddha lands, and demonstrates the 6 transcendental powers as if free from causality. The third ground is called the radiant ground, because he walks the path of ancient Buddhas and studies sutras in the 12 categories as a radiant means to deliver sentient beings. The fourth ground is called the flaming wisdom ground, because he begins to have endurance in his realization of the no birth of dharmas as he observes their existence and non-existence. He observes the merits adorning Buddhas above and observes sentient beings below on the 6 life paths. With the four immeasurable minds, he gives them happiness with great loving kindness by teaching them the Dharma, relieves their suffering with great compassion, celebrates their happiness with great sympathetic joy, and regards them with great equability, free from love or hate. The fifth ground is called the hard-to-conquer ground, because, with endurance in accord with the Dharma, he subdues his afflictions as he sees that his ignorance and doubts in the three realms of existence are empty. He conquers worldly knowledge by acquiring the 8 eloquences to discuss cause versus effect, and Buddhist versus non-Buddhist ways, and by mastering the 5 studies, which include outer knowledge, inner knowledge, medical arts, logic, and incantations. The 6th ground is called the revealing ground, because with high endurance in accord with the Dharma, he observes that all Dharmas of the past, present, and future are convergences of causes and conditions. In the Dharma realm, causes and conditions are all in nirvana, without exception. The 7th ground is called the far-going ground, because he achieves low endurance in his realization of the no-birth of dharmas, as he observes that his afflictions, which disappear as soon as they appear, neither exist nor not exist, and that his present body is his last in the 3 realms of existence. With each thought in nirvana, he accumulates the immeasurable merit needed to ascend to higher grounds. The 8th ground is called the motionless ground, because he achieves middling endurance in his realization of the no-birth of dharmas, ends his karmic requitals in the 3 realms of existence, and undergoes changeable birth and death. With the wisdom knowledge that the dharmas have no appearance, he observes dharmas that go from existence into non-existence as a manifestation of impermanence. He sees Buddhas rub the crown of his head and give him the teachings, and expects to harvest the holy fruit, as he does inconceivable training of his body and mind. The 9th ground is called the good wisdom ground, because with wonderful radiance he achieves high endurance in his realization of the no-birth of dharmas and manifests as Buddhas. The 10th ground is called the Dharma cloud ground, because he realizes the highest truth in the middle way and achieves low endurance in his attainment of nirvana. He walks the place walked by Buddhas, sits on a lotus flower seat made of 1,000 treasures, and receives from Buddhas the prophecy of his attaining Buddhahood. He learns from Buddhas how to deliver sentient beings, ends his 2 kinds of habits, and brings his great faith into full strength. He realizes that all in the Dharma realm are equal in true suchness, and that the 2 truths have the one appearance. With full knowledge of sentient beings' capacities, adorned with a garland of immeasurable merits, he assumes all shapes and forms simultaneously. The 11th ground is called the stainless ground, because he achieves middling endurance in his attainment of nirvana, and, upon completion of his training, ascends to the great mountain top. He enters 100,000 samadhis, and learns the deportment of a Buddha. Although his many impermanent achievements go through birth and death, his mind abides in that which is asamskrita. Having completed the preceding 10 grounds, he sits where Buddhas sit. His enlightenment virtually equals a Buddha's, and his wisdom penetrates the duality of dharmas such as permanence and impermanence. Though almost a Buddha, he is still learning to be a Buddha. However, bodhisattvas on lower grounds cannot know his state. Buddhas call him a bodhisattva, but bodhisattvas on lower grounds call him a Buddha. Why? Because this holy bodhisattva, using his great transcendental powers, lives for 1 billion kalpas and manifests as a Buddha, from his birth to his attaining Bodhi, to his turning the Dharma wheel, and to his entering parinirvana. When he expounds the Eightfold Right Path, he looks like a Buddha, though he is not actually a Buddha. Virtually a Buddha, he displays the deportment of a Buddha. Abiding in 100,000 samadhis, he takes all Buddha actions. He then enters the Vajra Samadhi and confirms that all dharmas are in the one appearance of no appearance, abiding in nirvana, a state beyond causality. The 12th ground is called the perfect enlightenment ground, because he achieves high endurance in his attainment of nirvana. As a Buddha, he has completed his work for self-benefit and universally does good dharmas to benefit sentient beings. Therefore, his mind in perfect enlightenment is called the Buddha store, which silently illuminates all dharmas, while the minds of all bodhisattvas, shrouded in their ignorance of the truth in different degrees, remain in illuminating silence. Buddha-son, when I was in the 4th dhyana heaven in the form realm, I explained to 8 Koti Brahma kings that the Tathagata who transcends body and mind silently illuminates all dharmas. Buddha-son, I now have briefly explained this meaning to open the door for this huge multitude to take good dharma actions.